Hello everyone and welcome back to Poetry Surprises. Today I want to take you on a little adventure alongside the canal. Now this is quite interesting because I want to read a poem that I wrote many years ago, and it comes from my collection The Pumpkin Lantern, and I first read this poem live in front of an audience. It must have been the early 1990s in Scotland. It's a very nostalgic poem, and it's a poem about memory, and it's about my relationship with my father, which is a recurring kind of theme, as you've probably already noticed. This poem has undergone a kind of transformation in my relationship to it over the years, because it was written when my father was very much alive, and now he's been dead for 25 years. And I decided for recording this poem to actually go down to the place where all the imagery comes from, that comes from a long time ago. From when I was a child. At the time, on the River Lee, there were many barges. This was an industrial landscape. It was full of warehouses, timber yards, coal, and things were moving between the River Thames and up to the point where the Lee navigation accesses, I believe, the Grand Union Canal. And there were these huge barges moored at the side of the river, with many of them empty or just stuff lying in them. Obviously the industrial era had gone and it declined, and so therefore for me it was a fascinating, dirty, dark and if you like, exciting place to explore. It was where my father learned to swim. He used to jump off the bridge into the river and go swimming. Of course, there's signs everywhere, even when I was young, no swimming, probably because it's pretty lethal, I would imagine, or it certainly was in those days. It's a bit cleaner now. What was really interesting was I decided to go down there with the camera to take some footage so that I could record this poem and try to pick out some of the imagery that existed in it. And of course, it's all changed. Now, the barges that still remain have been converted into houseboats. Most of the barges have just been towed away and scrapped. The barge. I fix my gaze on the rusty barge. At first on dents, then tears so large a man might squeeze through. Then the paint, peeled, flaked, brown or black, and faint ghosts of words, something and some limited. Scrapped before the sycamore sprouted, so Dad said when I started school. Now it floats in my memory's pool. My dad would kick her battered hull and smile at the rolling, enormous, dull echo that made my legs feel weak. The boom he called a barge's night speak and dried my tears. She used to hold coal, but she's tired now and too old. I felt sick on the haunting elixir of pity stopped with unhinging fear. I've watched from this towpath as long as that sapling sycamore grew strong. Once its single whipstang swung with grace and wind-lashed me in the face. Bent against its bowing, I tried to rip it up, soft hands slipping against the sap. My father laughed, then frowned. told me to leave things where they're found. He'd let me clasp his sturdy finger. I felt the flesh soften one summer. Hard, often torn with congealed blood, then smooth, then pale like mine, as if puffed with sweet cream and too much leisure. Now, stiff bones wipe his wet eyes clear. Dad, I don't want to mouth bye-bye. I pray each night that death's a lie. The sycamore shades the key in stippled green, drops its fruits into the unseen cavern of the barge, while speck by speck molecular bonds disentangle the wreck. I watch the river waltzing around till the barge's flank is finely ground to a thinness that lets the sun's rays lend a last warmth as the tiller sways. The barge drifts slowly, like a cool shadow cast by the moon's borrowed glow. Floating down the oily Thames to the open sea, it fades, a requiem born among the huge fire of stars that once we wished were magical charms. And there, in the hold, the laughter of my father. And here, in the tree, my cries calling after.